Aquatic snails are some of the most commonly known creatures in the aquarium hobby. Whether you love them or hate them, almost every tank ends up with them. Many people don't like snails, but what's actually wrong with them? Are they as bad as people make out? Firstly, we need to understand what pest snails are. The general consensus of people, in my opinion, is to call snails pests, but that isn't always the case. I like to imagine fish tanks as a garden. In gardens, there are plants and bacteria in the soil, much like aquariums have bacteria in the substrate. But in a garden, there are grubs and worms, all playing a part in the ecosystem. Snails are essentially these worms. They patrol the tanks and munch on any decaying food source. This could be uneaten food to fish poop. All of this decaying matter turns into ammonia, which is harmful. Snails eat this kind of stuff. Many people don't like snails because there can just be so many of them, but there are only enough snails as there is food sources. If you have heaps of snails, you're likely overfeeding or not doing frequent enough water changes. But snails are a mixed bag of benefits with lots of pros and cons, so I will briefly detail a few snail types. The most hated and common snails out there are bladder snails. A good 50% of snail plagues are these little guys. They are small, usually brown and translucent, and have a pointed conical shell that resembles a bladder. They typically grow to about 1 centimeter, and these snails are prolific breeders, meaning they can quickly populate an aquarium. This is thanks to a special property. Snails contain both male and female sexual organs, meaning they can reproduce with themselves. Even if one tiny bladder snail is hiding in your gravel or on your new plant, they will reproduce. However, snails have a smaller bioload on the tank than other variants. They don't make as much waste. But on the other hand, I despise these guys along with the vast majority. They look ugly and generally are annoying to see and hard to kill. While they help clean up waste and algae, bladder snails can become unsightly in large numbers. They may also eat fish eggs and compete for food with bottom-dwelling fish like coolie loaches and corridors catfish. Ram thorns, on the other hand, I like very much, coming in different colours that range from brown to black to blue, purple, pink and even red. They also look much more appealing than an ugly bladder snail. They kinda look like every cartoony style snail or little kid's sculpture. Ramshorns grow to around 1 to 3 centimeters and much like bladder snails can asexually reproduce. They can overpopulate an aquarium if conditions favour them, potentially leading to competition for resources. Lastly are Malaysian trumpet snails. These guys have elongated spiral shells with a pointy tip. They grow to around 2 to 3 centimeters in length. As for behaviour, these snails are beneficial for aerating and turning the substrate as they like to burrow into the gravel. This can help prevent anaerobic pockets. These pockets contain bacteria that eats up nitrates. These nitrates are some of the things your aquarium plants eat on. It's best to leave your filters to have these, unless you don't have a planted tank. Malaysian trumpet snails generally don't overpopulate as rapidly as bladder or ramshorns. They are extremely beneficial for aquarium health, but can become a nuisance if their population goes unchecked. Remember, this is only really due to excess waste that snail populations explode. As I said before, many pest snails are actually beneficial for your aquarium health, by cleaning up debris and algae. Plus, they also make a cool addition for your tanks. You can also have other snails such as mystery snails. They generally don't breed a lot unless you have a few. I love them as they can get to a reasonable size and can last a while, much longer than others. They are especially great at controlling algae, and generally sold online. I would highly recommend using mystery snails. If you want to get some, you can find them at Sydney Aquascapes. I'll put a link in the description and pinned comment. Remember to use my code NEDSFishTips at checkout for 10% off on all purchases. However, some snails can take over, and the prevention could be to diagnose the issue and stop it. Or possibly there are a few other methods. A great biological one is to introduce snail-eating fish like loaches that can help control populations, but ensure compatibility with other tank inhabitants. Also do your research. Many common fish for these jobs are clown loaches. They look cool and you can find small ones everywhere. Clown loaches, however, don't stay small, averaging 20 to 30 centimeters or 8 to 12 inches. Just ensure you can suitably house the fish with no problems. I would recommend Pakistani loaches. They do prefer groups but don't grow as big. You can also use snail traps baited with food to catch and remove excess snails, while you control the population. You can generally find these online for $10 to $12. Or, if you want a free, cost-effective and useful one, simply get a bit of zucchini or cucumber, stick it on a fork, leave it in the tank for an hour, and see when all the snails start to eat on it. Then, just lift the fork out with the cucumber and throw all of the snails away. That will be sure to kill them. In some cases, you actually may want a snail explosion, or a few snails to rapidly breed, as they can become free food sources for your fish, especially loaches or even pea puffers. Sometimes snails, especially bladders, can make a tank look ugly with millions of tiny black dots everywhere. In my opinion, you should never turn to chemical use to remove the snails. Yes, it can be effective, but generally it can just end up hurting sensitive fish in your aquarium and killing things like shrimp and live plants along with the snails. It's better to use traditional methods. With snails, I have noticed a few misconceptions that give them a bad rap. Many people accuse snails of killing and eating your plants. This is partly true. Snails primarily consume dying or decaying plant matter that aren't usually the cause of healthy plant damage. They only eat nutrient deficient or dying plants, never the healthy ones. So, if you see some snails munching on a plant, you may need to go figure out about the issue of the plant deficiency. Snails are great at doing these warning things. From telling you about ammonia bursts to nutrient deficiency, snails can also indicate poor water parameters. While pest snails can be beneficial, it's best they are managed to prevent overpopulation and potential issues with tank maintenance and aesthetics. Understanding their role in the ecosystem of your aquarium can help strike a balance between their benefits and potential drawbacks. Overall, snails are a helpful sign and cleanup crew, and I have them in all of my aquariums. If you wish to purchase some of these snails talked about in this video, be sure to go to Sydney Aquascapes, my number one choice for aquarium products. You can find the relevant links in the description and pinned comment. Make sure to use my link code NEDSFISHTIPS for 10% off on all purchases. Thank you guys so much for watching my videos to the end. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed my content and found it useful, please be sure to subscribe, as I make my goal of 1,000 subscribers possible. The comment of the video goes out to Patrick Hualda. Leave your comment down below for a chance at a shout out next week. Thank you all, and I'll see you in the next one.